Coming up on Network Africa, U.S. warns of possible attacks right here in Lagos, Nigeria. And it's Judgment Day for Paralympic star Oscar Pistorius. He gets 6 years behind bars. Rio 2016 is just a month away, but police say that might not be able to guarantee tourist safety. Network Africa starts right now. Network Africa. I am Adeshewa Josh, and happy Eid al-Fitr celebration to you. It's a season of celebration among the Muslim faithful. However, nothing must be left to chance, especially as regards security. We understand that a security warning has been issued by the United States to its citizens, informing them, especially those leaving or frequenting hotels in Lagos, including those located on waterfronts, of planned terrorist attacks during the Eid al-Fitr holidays. The advisory was posted on the U.S. diplomatic mission website. The U.S. mission in Nigeria is reminding its citizens to review personal security plans, remain aware of their surroundings, including local events, and monitor local news stations for updates. A similar security warning had been given in the past. Well, let's talk a little more about this warning from the United States. Joining us from London is security and terrorism expert David Otter. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank
you, we do know that we have seen, we've seen in the past, from the Turkey airport attack to the Bangladesh incident, to Iraq and even Saudi Arabia. How should this warning be received by Nigerians and the authorities?
I think it's very important for the Nigerian authority and people in Nigeria to understand that, you know, these attacks in Saudi Arabia especially tells us that, you know, everyone is at risk of a terrorist attack. You know, whether you're a Muslim or you're a non-Muslim, you're a Christian or you know young and old. You know, terrorist organizations these days, you know, do not distinguish between religion. So I think it's very important for governments to bear that take that into consideration. I think also the second thing that these attacks tells us is that, you know, the issue of action, reaction, action has to be taken into consideration. I think we've almost forgotten the reasons why these organizations came up in the first place, and the concentration now has been on how we can defeat them instead of how we can actually address some of these underlying issues. So I think attacks like this, it tells us that, you know, we have to go back to the drawing board. I mean, the third thing as well that has to be noted, you know, coincidentally, we're talking about this today when the Chilcot report, you know, against the war on Iraq, whether, you know, it was legitimate, you know, has been actually released today in the United Kingdom. What it tells us is that governments have to be able to take responsibility because, you know, for the failure of protecting its citizens, you know, because what we see is that, you know, there's an overemphasis on military tactics without actually dealing with the underlying issues. So I think the government of Nigeria has to take into consideration these factors and ensure that, you know, because we cannot actually guarantee the security and freedom of the people, that, you know, they need to be accountable, and the people have to be worried and aware of what is going on at the moment.
Looking at the pattern of soft targets, which is practiced by most of these extremist groups, including Boko Haram, I'm asking you, how should authorities approach the threat posed by these groups?
Unfortunately, we're experiencing a kind of tactics because, you know, when the authorities change tactics of attacking groups like Boko Haram and ISIL, what they also do, because of they enjoy the element of invisibility, they easily target soft targets like airports, you know, marketplaces, hotels, because they know that these are the places which is very impossible for the government to be able to guarantee security in these areas, because these are places where people enjoy their normal liberty and freedom. What it actually gives, you know, the headache that it gives authorities is the fact that, you know, there is now an open failure by the authorities to protect people in soft targets. Boko Haram and ISIL, they know that it's impossible for the government to have full security in these areas. So I think what is more important now is for governments to, remove away from the conventional military and police strategy and now involve the people, the communities that are affected. Everyone must be vigilant at the moment, and I think everyone has to be able to act as a security at the moment.
So let me quickly ask you, how does this public announcement actually help in preventing possible attacks? Because sometimes it does store fear in the minds of a lot of people, and this kind of public awareness or announcement or warning has also been issued in time past, not just in Nigeria. It was recently issued in South Africa and a couple other countries. How does this kind of public awareness really take away, prevent such attacks from happening? Does it really do that?
I think, it's very difficult for us to conclude that public awareness, can prevent an attack. But what is important is that people have to understand that, the fight is not just in the hands of the authorities any longer. It is now something that everyone has to be very much involved. Boko Haram and ISIL will not distinguish whether you're a member of the public or you're a security or infrastructure. They would attack everyone and anyone. So I think it's very important. We've been fighting Al-Qaeda since 2001, and then this is about 15 years, and we're talking about millions of people who have been affected by this crisis. I don't think, we've been doing public awareness since 2001 or when all these issues started. So I don't think, public awareness alone, will solve the problem. What will solve this problem is I think we need to go back to the drawing board and find a strategy to talk to these groups and see which is the way out. Because we're not winning, and people keep dying. And governments have to take responsibility for this.
So as a security expert, please share some tips with us as regards what to look out for in the spirit of being conscious.
There is no red button solution. We cannot really tell people to have a look at a setting, but what we always say is that, you know what is normal. As an individual, you can tell when something is going wrong within your environment because you've lived in that environment and you know what you can describe as normal. So, but, one thing which we have to give out as a precursor is the fact that, terrorist organizations advance in terms of how they carry out the attacks. So they are very clever. Once people get clever, they also follow the same pattern. What is important is that, people have to be able to identify what seems to you to be abnormal within the environment that you live in. That is what will determine whether you raise an awareness or not. Because one thing could be normal in one area and is completely abnormal in another area. So there is no red button solution.
Right.
But I think people have to be vigilant in terms of, their environment.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, David Oto, security and terrorism expert from London. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let's take a break on Network Africa. When we come back, it's Judgment Day for Paralympic star Oscar Pistorius. 6 years behind bars, that's what he gets. Do join us again for the latest.